it is an analogy between affiliate marketing and parenting, because affiliate marketing every year changes, right? There's some new thing that comes up that you have to kind of work and adapt around and look back at how you solved previous problems and say, hey, is that how I should solve this problem, or is there a new way of doing it?
Gordon, Riegel, appreciate you sitting down with me.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's, we've known each other, what, 10, 12 years now?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's definitely been, yeah. 14 years for me in the space. I think we met pretty early on. So,
yeah. Was Diablo was your first?
Yeah, formally, that's how I got started in the affiliate marketing space. I had run some small projects for my parents who were realtors. They were selling some property in the mountains. And so I built out a WordPress website, and they even had an email list they wanted me to mail out to people, and did some Facebook campaigns. So it was very, very much earlier than Diablo, but that was my first foray into the marketing space. But yeah, Diablo back in 2012 was when I got started in the space formally.
Interesting. Okay, so did that give you sort of a insight into the, I guess, kind of the workings of digital marketing? Was that like a spark for you, would you say?
Yeah, I did. I liked the ability to connect with people through the digital medium. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite parts was building out websites. I got hyper obsessed with the color schemes and the layout of the site that was helping people see the different properties available in the mountains at the time. And just really what I found is, of course, 15 years later, I'm like, well, that was just landing page optimization, at the earliest phase. But I really enjoyed kind of what are the consumers going to get engaged with, and that, it really sparked an interest probably before I even knew what I was doing, just in kind of the digital sphere and the marketing sphere. But I did use it in my interview at Diablo and kind of explained it and showed the website, and they thought that was pretty cool that I kind of just picked it up on my own. And again, definitely early innings was those first pieces there. Yeah.
Really cool. Prior to Diablo, I know you also had a little bit of an experience with a hotel.
I did.
You were at I believe, sort of a front desk manager type of
basically
client service, customer service.
Jack of all trades. I was a valet, a concierge. The boss was called the doorman, so I did the doorman job for a little while.
Okay.
But I did that for about 6 years before I started in the space.
I came from a service background myself.
All right, nice.
So I did a lot of restaurant work and bartending and things of that nature, everywhere from clubs to high-end, really fine dining restaurants. Mm-hmm. I feel like that is an industry that many people in our world sort of have some experience with. I feel like it kind of taught me a level of patience and humility, ability to sort of eat crow when needed, with sort of a smile on your face. How do you feel that your background contributed to kind of your current management style, the way that you even handle interactions with employees, partners, clients, affiliates? Yeah,
it's interesting. I actually use this a lot with my new hires. I talk about the specifically when I was a concierge at the hotel. Again, I ran a few different jobs there, but when I was a concierge, this was a 4-star, 4-diamond hotel in Boulder, Colorado, St. Julian Hotel. And when I was there, we had a lot of recurring clients. They'd come in every other week, or they'd be hosting a huge event of 30, 40 rooms we booked up, and we would have to kind of know who was coming in that day. And the more repeat clients, we had to know proactively what they liked, right? Did they have a certain time that they checked in? Did they have a certain way they'd like to be greeted? Did they have family in town? Again, University of Colorado was in Boulder, and so you'd have some that had students in town. And the more we got to kind of proactively know how they worked, the more effective, more likely they were to come back, the more effective our experience was with them as a consumer. And so that helped me a lot, particularly with our affiliate base and my current job. And this is where I use this in training, is talking about how the more proactive you can be and the better you can kind of understand the nuances of those partnerships, the more likely they see that as a way to build trust and connection early on, right? So we have clients that are international. What time of day are they up and active? Are you pestering them during their dinner time, or are they a night owl? Have they catered to the U.S. Time zones? Even simple things like that has really helped us build some stronger partnerships and just anticipating needs and challenges that they may face and how they look at the business. So, and I would say still probably my toughest clients, as challenging as certain people are in this industry, are those who stay in hotels. And so I learned a lot about patience and all that, but anticipating needs, I say, is probably where I've learned the most in that process. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's interesting. And I think it's just it's a field that just demands so many different sort of traits out of you, and
Right.
if you don't have them, then you don't do it very
Right.
long. But the people that I know, and I know many who found themselves in those roles for years, they tend to be, I think, a little more patient in most cases. I work on that myself, but I think they also have really kind of a flexible sort of demeanor about them and understand that everybody is sort of different and is going to have a different experience, and trying to figure out how they can kind of, sort of better guide them through whatever it may be, whether, work relationship or personal or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, flexibility and adaptability is a big part of that. And, hours are weird in hospitality or any customer service roles. And so that's another thing you learn and you have to adopt in an ever 24/7 digital marketing industry. I think getting that time to understand, again, catering to times and things like that. And just being willing to pick up a computer or phone at any point in time in the night to work on something. And again, you definitely get that from the customer service world for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So currently, obviously, with Suda Connector, right? What would you say kind of the last 4 or 5 years, right? It's been about 5, I believe.
Yeah, 4 years at Suited, yeah.
Have you been in the same role the entire time?
I have, yeah. So basically, my job's kind of gotten a little out of the trenches every year and less direct with client focus. But yeah, overseeing our affiliate program has been my focus for the whole time, yeah.
Okay. And what do you think, like, has that meant to you? I mean, it was a big jump, certainly from, I think, any time we certainly transition within this space and go to a new role after you've been there for a while. You were at Diablo for
almost 10 years, yeah, a little
almost 10.
under 10.
That's a long time, especially in our world where so many people do tend to just hop around.
Right.
What did that mean for you when you got that opportunity? Did you see it, and how'd you feel about it? Were you intimidated? Were you scared? I mean, it was I assume, a jump up as far as responsibility and leadership, and now you're controlling budget and things like that for your team, right?
Yeah.
How did you kind of build up, I guess, the courage after 10 years in a pretty comfortable zone, right? How did you approach that?
Yeah, it is interesting coming from a position that you know kind of where every little nook and cranny of the business is when you've been there for almost 10 years. And I had such a privilege of growing and having such great teams under me there and some leadership there that I deeply respect. But what I certainly found is someone had once told me, and I wish I remember who, but they had said, a good manager slowly becomes obsolete because they teach a team how to be so efficient and so effective that one day you're kind of like, well, this operated pretty effectively without me around. Like, that's pretty kind of great, but kind of a little intimidating. And certainly I found that the team I had built at Diablo was doing so well, and I saw an opportunity for a few others to step up that I was just so honored and had hoped for them for a long time, that it felt like a right time for me. And similarly, what I saw ahead was kind of the opportunity to do that again and take what I'd learned and grow off of that, even be a better manager and a better support to the team. Suda Connector from 2018 to 2021 had year over year rapid growth. I mean, that was like 2x almost year over year for 2 or 3 years straight. And for that, they had a lot of growing pains, but it's all good problems, right? They had doubled the size of the business in terms of staffing. So there's a lot of new faces. There was a lot of new ways about doing things. We had added home services and insurance to our business. And so one of the parts of the business that had not grown in terms of staffing as much was the affiliate side of the business. Okay. Interestingly, and I think a lot of people know in the affiliate space, is it's a personality-driven industry, right? You connect with people. If you can vibe well with them, you can do a lot with them over time. And so it was challenging for them to grow that and have a very strategic affiliate manager step out of being the day-to-day contact and bringing somebody else in to kind of step in for that role. And so really what they struggled with is growing that part of the business. You were kind of burning out 1 or 2 really great resources in that team. And so the challenge they presented me with is, hey, we've doubled the size of this team. We need to somehow double the size of the affiliate team and still maintain the momentum with the current partners. And so again, it was a cool challenge for me to say, okay, how do you go about effectively maintaining trust and rapport with legacy established affiliates, right? And then how do you also expand and add more and kind of build some infrastructure to the team? And that was really the challenge that was presented to me, and I loved it. I had a lot of great help both within the team that was there currently as well as just the broader business in order to be able to get that done. But that was really a fun challenge for me to look at, because it wasn't just managing affiliates. It wasn't just managing a team. It was kind of thinking a little bigger of like, okay, how do I build this out? So I got to lean on what I had learned at Diablo, But again, I knew just coming into the business, I would learn a lot as well. Every business operates a little differently.
Yeah,
And so for
absolutely.
me, that was a really cool opportunity to speak with some people who had been doing this for a very long time and hear their perspectives and their growth in the business and in the industry. That I learned a lot in 2 years, in the first 2 years there. I certainly still do, but like that first 2 years, it was like your brain felt sore after leaving every day with the
Yeah.
amount that you learned. So it's very cool.
I have to imagine also that the opportunity to sort of build the team that you wanted, right? And I mean, at Diablo, you had that as
Yeah.
well to an extent, I would
Yeah.
imagine. But was Diablo sort of uh, existing when it was a little more like structured, I guess, in the confines of how your team needed to operate? Was it already kind of the processes and things were already sort of there where
Yeah.
suited? You saw an opportunity to sort of build a program, taking all of your knowledge, but the way you saw it
Right.
fit.
Yeah, exactly. So when I left Diablo, I had 16 direct reports, and it was over, I think, 5 or 6 different positions. Each one was really well established, kind of, what we call lines of our business, right? So we had the lead buying team, and then the affiliate management team, and the advertising management team, and the data team, and very cool for me to see all those. But it was, a challenge sometimes in those opportunities is a siloed approach, and once it works, it's hard to kind of overhaul and change it all. And so we had really found a good established base. But coming in to Suited, I had, I think, 2, 3 direct reports, all kind of doing the same work, and I had the opportunity to look at it and say, how much do I change, right? I was given kind of carte blanche to say, hey, do you need to hire 3 more people? Do you think you can do it with this one? Obviously, the more we hire, the better we got to do. But how can we actually build that out to maintain infrastructure that's actually going to help the team? And so at that point in time too, there was a small kind of advertising management arm too, and so there were more than one role we had to kind of better define. And so when I came in, it was building processes. I mean, I have Google Docs that exist that are 6, 7 pages long of onboarding processes and management processes and rules and responsibilities for different roles and things like that. But so I really got to get creative with that, and yeah, kind of create my own path for what I saw for growth for an individual, right? So if you're really good at this job, what's the next job, right?
Yeah.
What do you hope to grow into, and what characteristics are we looking for in people? So it was pretty cool to have a lot of opportunities to build that from scratch, and they gave me a lot of freedom to do so.
That's great. I mean, that's a pretty amazing way to sort of look at that opportunity to
Yeah.
jump in and not, I think it's very easy to be sort of intimidated and almost scared,
Sure.
by that sort of a task and
Yeah.
kind of right, that mountain in front of you to be trusted with and take it to that next level.
Yeah.
It's really, really awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
So speaking of your team, we have I've spoken with a lot of them. I know many of them anyway,
Sure,
kind
yeah.
of personally.
Yeah.
And how large is your team right now? How many people under you?
So there's 6 of us in total, including myself. So
Right.
five that I have the very distinct privilege of working with on a very routine basis. Probably more. They probably hear from me more than they need to or want to, but I get to talk to them very often throughout the week. Yeah.
All women.
It is. Currently, that is the dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I love that, and
Yeah.
and especially in this sort of world that traditionally and not so much anymore, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
We've got groups like Link Unite, and there's just so many brilliant women in the space. But
Yeah.
you've built a team of honestly just really cool and brilliant and high performing women.
Yeah.
So. Did it just sort of play out that way?
Yeah.
Have you had guys in roles and in similar roles, and I guess how did the chips fall
Yeah.
the way they did?
Yeah, absolutely. I think to me, certainly we've had a lot of different men in different roles in our, a few affiliate managers, advertising managers. Of course, Diablo is diverse in that sense, and we did have a few at different points in time at Suited Connector as well. A lot of what we found was, especially with the team we have now, I'm so honored that there have been some that have come to the team and just heard great things about Suited Connector, the affiliate team, my management, which I was very flattered to hear. And so a lot of the ones that we've hired over the time have actually been people that have either been brought on by another member of the team, like, hey, we had great privilege of bringing on Lauren Bell this year. Yes, she's great. She had been referred by another member of the in the industry and said, hey, Gordon's got a great opportunity there, and so we had some conversations. So there was no rhyme or reason, but I think it is just kind of like peers of one another that have come forward and connected. And no, I mean, some of them, it's interesting now. I think every person I have worked with, I mean, Kara and I have been running the team for a long time, but outside of Kara, I've worked with every single one of them in another capacity as a client or even a direct report in another position. So yeah, things just kind of fell together one by one. But I have a great team. Yeah,
You do.
I do. Yeah.
You do. And I personally, like as also a manager, I don't have 6 people that I need to that are on my team that I need to kind of watch over all the time. But I think that speaks a lot to you.
Yeah,
And you mentioned kind of being proud of when you hear that your management style is something that people are drawn to, or why they want to seek out an opportunity with Suco. I think is pretty awesome. I want to play something for you.
Oh no!
Okay.
All right.
All right. We're gonna take a look here, and this is from Kara.
Oh jeez.
So
She had a smirk on her face earlier today, and I was like, "What are you smiling about?"
so I don't really know how to put it, and I don't want to sound like preachy in any way. I know hearing not everybody accepts compliment real well. I struggle with it myself. I defer and do things like that. I would just ask, really hear this.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
The biggest influence in my career, when you asked me that question, I got emotional because it's absolutely, hands down, VP of Suda Connector, and that's Gordon Riegel. We both landed into Suda Connector at really interesting times, and as I shared, I didn't have any experience, and he just inspires me to continually be the absolute best version of myself. And he's just the most amazing patient teacher. And I can safely say that I wouldn't be where I'm at in my career without his support and mentorship and leadership. And it is interesting to me that it made me emotional when you asked me that, but it's true. He's an amazing man to work for.
Wow. Flattered.
Say more.
Kara's amazing. I mean, I certainly to take a moment to talk about Kara Burns. When I started, she had this drive. I don't think I've ever seen in anybody. That's still every morning she wakes up still with that drive. But she wanted to learn. She wanted to understand what she didn't understand. And I remember looking at like through a digital screen, and sometimes we were in the office, this notepad of questions, and it was sometimes just words she would hear in a meeting. It'd be questions of things she saw in a Skype chat or something, and she just wanted to learn. And I think that, being a teacher can be really easy when you have great students that are eager to learn. And I say that because my dad, he was more in the HR world, but he always kind of had a part of his job that was teaching, and he used to talk about that, like hunger to learn. And Kara in that way makes her just an amazing student, right? Because we'd meet and she'd say, "Hey, I know yesterday you told me how this works, but Gordon, I need you to run it through me again because I need to just hear it again." And for me, it was interesting. It was a fun challenge of like, okay, how can I say it a little differently, using just to kind of see if a subtle perspective shift will give a little bit better context into what it was. But for me, that has really defined my career at Suited, to see her and then of course her team now grow and learn, and you just see the light bulbs go off, and you see that they're working with clients and kind of understanding both the forest and the trees of the industry. Has been great. But Kara is definitely she's very special for just how hard she's worked, what she's done for me, and I'm very, very honored for a lot of ways. I cannot take credit for her growth, but I certainly have take pride a little bit in seeing how she's grown over the years.
I will say I think you're sort of displaying the classic trait of a good leader in that you're deferring. But accept the flowers, if you will.
Sure, right, fair.
And I, like I said, I know just playing that for a couple friends before, showing them, kind of telling what what I wanted to do for you here today, and people were, touched by that.
Yeah,
I know if I had, people that I was responsible for mentoring and guiding, saying things like that, it'd be pretty amazing.
She's definitely a very unique individual in my life for many reasons, and work and life bleed together, and she and I have had to have a lot of conversations around, hey, this is what's happening in life, right? And that's another thing I think just makes her so awesome and so helpful is she understands that life happens, and I do too.
Yeah.
And so it's another, variable of our industry that you just have to come to kind of expect. And so, yeah, it's been great partnership with Kara.
It's awesome. Well, a couple of the other things that your team had to say,
All right.
and these were things that Kara echoed as well, but just some quick quotes. Amazing leader, shows up every single day, leads by example, compassionate and intelligent, incredible teacher, selfless, and no one works harder. We all know plenty of managers. We've worked for them. We know them. Some of them are in our organizations. Some of them are business partners and all these types of things, these relationships that we have. But we all know people who are in management roles who kind of can't get out of their own way in ways.
Yeah.
They aren't great with delegation. They maybe just don't take that extra. I'm guilty of some of these things myself. And especially in this remote world I think that we're in, sometimes it's difficult to take that extra time with the people in your charge to educate and make sure they're really feeling heard, seen, and advancing in the direction that they want, right? They just don't go that extra mile sometimes. What do you think makes you this person, this manager, this leader that they all are just ready to go to battle for every day and follow and have all these amazing things to say? What do you think where has that come from for you?
Well, again, I'm honored to hear that. I have such a great team, and they certainly make my job easy in so many ways. I think a lot of people have the same experience, right? You have good managers that create good managers, and I think that that's something I've experienced a lot. I don't even think he's in the industry anymore, but a shout out to a gentleman named Aaron Peterson. That when I came in, he had come from Lending Tree and Service Magic and a lot of other bigger businesses at Diablo, and had come in and just was willing to sit me down and help me understand how things worked. And I think that that's a big shift in the industry since the 20 teens to now. Is back then it was harder to kind of understand and get information about how the industry worked. There was all kind of trade secrets and hiding information. And for me, there were certain people that were willing to share what they learned and what they were, how they had come to where they were in their career, that I think I was so inspired by, because what I noticed with them is that they were the ones that were creating the next generation of growth. And so for me, I really am inspired by teaching, because again, those light bulbs going off is just such a rewarding experience to me. And the more I can share with them, the more they are empowered to grow, the more they then grow others, right? I mean, where we are now, Kara manages the team that 2 years ago I was managing, but it's because of what we had done together that now kind of, for a quote unquote next generation of people in the affiliate industry to learn and to grow. And so I think you just have to have kind of an enjoyment of the process, because teaching can be hard. I think that that's a bigger challenge, especially on maybe the affiliate management side, is you get really good at what you do, almost see others as competitors and how you work. And so you don't want to share how you do it or what your secrets are.
Sure.
But I think that the more you create an environment in which people are open to sharing, the more that's contagious, and the more that allows more people to share, and then even builds trust with our client base. And so, of course, it takes the right people to learn. And I've had some that maybe they didn't pick up as much because they just weren't eager to hearing, different ways of approaching things. But for me, having the right people to teach and seeing how they grow and seeing how they pick things up, and then reflect it back to me and then teach it to others is the drive for me. And I think, again, I've got a great team that's been able to help me continue to feed a part of my career that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and certainly having good people that you work with.
Yeah.
I'm a huge beneficiary of that as well.
Yeah.
Having just an amazing team that, you also want to go to battle for every day, right?
Right.
And be that person and try to lead by example.
Yep. Yeah.
That's great. What do you see happening for you and your team and Suco over the next 2 years, 3 years?
That's a great question. Interestingly, a lot of time is usually spent in December and January preparing for the year, where we want to see things the whole industry went through a crazy start to the year with one-to-one consent changes. We own web forms in 13 subverticals, and so that's a very intricate buyer base in the background, and how we were going to be able to follow these new laws was a huge focus for a lot of us for the last 3 or 4 months. I mean, we've been working on it for a year, but just head down, 80% of my day was focused on that. And so it's been interesting how hasn't been as much time as usual thinking about that, right? More was like Operation Survive. How do we get through this? And we had a great plan, and we were very ready for the rollout. So that was going to be that was one path we would have taken, right? How do you stay relevant? What happens to the industry? What happens to our competitors? How do buyers buy differently? Does it change the cost of affiliates? Does the space get bigger or smaller? But now that we're back on the path of just growth, for us, we've had a really successful run in the last 2 years of growing home services. Suited Connector has been primarily a mortgage business from the day we started until about 2018 was just entirely mortgage. And so for us to see the success we've had in home services, deepening our buyer partnerships, really finding some key affiliates and even our internal marketing teams running ads in these verticals, it's shown us that that's the path for us in growth. So what does that mean? Better performance on our campaigns as we're deepening our buyer base behind every one of our current offers. Home services is such a huge net of other sub-verticals, from walk-in tubs to HVAC to siding, and so we're probably going to continue to expand those areas. Big question we get asked a lot is, okay, what happens if mortgage comes back? Because obviously interest rates are going to drive that market in a different direction. And this is probably the first year in a few years we're not forecasting any plans of that happening, but we'll be very happy when it does. But diversity is key for us. We don't really want to go back to just saying, hey, mortgage is now the path back to success or growth. And then, of course, we have an insurance side of our business that I see. So long story short, I think auto insurance, life insurance are going to be strong for us this year. I think traffic versus, there was at one point in time calls seemed like that was going to be a big part of our business. We've stayed the path of lead forms and traffic, so that's going to be a big part of what we do. And then again, maintaining diversity across a growing base of sub-verticals and offers. And how does that translate to my affiliate team? Well, it's hard because your menu of offers to pitch an affiliate gets bigger and bigger. And how do you make sure that you're still getting all parts of that menu serviced? And how do you maintain momentum in windows and roofing, all while auto and mortgage are growing or working? So that's going to be the big thing. And we'll probably, again, have to continue to think of new processes to maintain that infrastructure I talked about, right? Lauren Bell represents somebody that comes in specifically for our home services side of the business. Do we replicate that in other subverticals? So it is expansion, but it's strategic growth. It's not just haphazard. A lot of times, having run an affiliate network, sometimes the biggest offer is just what worked for 2 weeks, and then that's what you do. Yeah. But for us, it's like we have to be disciplined on where we see growth, so that we kind of service all sides of the business as they need to be serviced and grown.
Okay. Any personal life goals? Anything that you're working on and aiming for in your own world outside of the Suco roof?
Yeah, absolutely. So on a personal note, I've had kind of a crazy year. I got a divorce, actually, in full transparency. And it's changed my relationship with my children in a really interesting way, a lot of ways really good. I've had the ability to maybe make connections with them on a level that I probably didn't expect to, right? They have to be 100% reliant on dad during certain times of the week and on the month. And that's really given me a lot more kind of time to connect and understand what their needs are. And so for me, they are a huge focus of mine and every day of my life and have been for years, but kind of continuing to reshape and build that relationship with my kids becomes kind of a step one. It's one of those things that, it is an analogy between affiliate marketing and parenting, because affiliate marketing every year changes, right? There's some new thing that comes up that you have to kind of work and adapt around and be creative and look back at how you've solved previous problems and say, hey, is that how I should solve this problem, or is there a new way of doing it? And parenting is the same thing. How you solve a problem of a 5-year-old is very different than an 8-year-old and very different than a 10-year-old. And so how you kind of get creative, and each kid's different, right? And so what I'm getting at is there's this interesting focus and discipline I've put behind really being conscious of how I create a different level of relationship with them. So in some ways, interestingly, that's also left for a lot of open doors in different directions that my personal life would go. And I think just really being open to that. There's a level of uncertainty that for most of January was funny how FCC rollout was happening and the one-to-one consent, all while my personal life and longer term transitions are still being worked on, of kind of embracing uncertainty, kind of just being okay that I don't know where things are going to be in 6 months or a year. Kind of being more present in the moment, trying to solve problems, and just spending less time dwelling or worrying about kind of, okay, is this all going to work out this way, or what's going to happen here tomorrow? And so I think for me, that's been really nice. It's probably the first time in my life I can't tell you exactly where a year will be from now, but I know the values I want to possess at that point in time, right? Close connection with my kids, a strong team that feels happy at their job and motivated to grow, and of course, continual growth for myself and my business. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, sure.
I went through a divorce myself 3 years ago. I am actually now in a great place, and all I'll say on that, without drawing it out too much, is it will get better.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a hard thing.
It is. It's a lot of change, yeah.
Absolutely. But it sounds like you are handling it in stride, focusing on your kids, which is awesome. I would expect nothing else from you, of course. I just wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
You will get through it, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So when Suco is all said and done, and or whatever kind of is next for you, I think personally a lot about lately has come about, and it's I think through some friends who have had some health scares and just my folks aging and things like that. Things like mortality, legacy. What am I going to leave behind? What are people going to think of me when I'm gone? Do you ever lend any thought to that type of thing? And how would you like to be viewed when you leave a position, or when you, when inevitably the last day comes?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great question. For me, I still connect with, for instance, the team at Diablo, and hear that they use old documents that I put together on how to do certain things. And it's small, but even that little sliver of a legacy, if you will, left there of how people still operate a part of the business because of something I created. And of course, there's much bigger examples, some that have come forward and said, hey, I'm in this role because you helped me grow, and I love that. Again, similarly, hearing what the team said and just my support to them is big. And I think that's really what it comes down to. I want to continue to be someone that somebody says that they learned more or they grew more because of what I was able to give them, right? I'm a big analogy guy. My emails, I send these emails about these different analogies throughout the year, just as kind of food for thought to different times in our company's growth. And I sometimes hear them repeated back, right? Like people are just speaking among one another. And so I think that kind of footprint of, ideas or wisdom, if you will, to the team that kind of gets translated down to kind of the next generation, I think is a big part of that. Obviously very similar when it comes to kids, when it comes to friendships. The more that I can kind of leave an impression of being supportive or helping them, grow and learn and try new things, I think is a big part of that, right? Kind of living within those that you have close in your life, I think is a big area that I'd love to leave knowing I've done, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you're well on your way.
Yeah.
From everything I've been told and heard and what I know of you personally.
Yeah, thank you.
Gordon, thank you for everything.
Yeah.
And your partnership over the years, friendship, just being all around heck of a good guy.
Likewise, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for this opportunity. This is really cool. Yeah.
Of course.